Oh, hello, my friend. I think we need to tell everybody how flipping early it is in the morning right now.
Yeah, this podcast immediately needs further context before we even get going, mate. So
I mean, it's what is it? It's like 10 to 9 right
10
now.
to 9 on Easter Sunday, no less.
Oh my God. Happy Easter, by the way.
Happy Easter, mate.
Happy Easter. I can't think of anything better to do right now than start my Easter with a flipping podcast.
I just see Matt's cheery face at 10 to 9 in the morning. Just, absolutely fills me with happiness.
It has brightened up my morning, that's for sure. But I've also got coffee that helps. So that's good.
I equally got my coffee mug in hand, mate. Very good morning.
This is instead of alcohol, we've chosen the wise choice. We could have gone straight to an alcohol drink. Let's be honest, we probably could have done that.
Easter Sunday, it would have been acceptable to whack out the old rum, but
to be honest, I'm probably going to start drinking about 1 o'clock, maybe, because 12 o'clock's a bit close, isn't it?
You've got children, so you definitely need.
That's true.
Like this, so
yeah, I do absolutely.
You've absolutely got a kid pass to whacking out that rum bottle.
To whack it out the rum bottle, whacking them with the rum bottle. No, I'm joking. I don't hit my children.
Moving on swiftly. What's bad is that we probably should have done the Incredible Hulk on Easter Sunday in the morning, because there maybe it would have had a happier,
Yeah.
I feel like the last podcast there was a lot of negativity there.
It was a bit of a Debbie Downer, wasn't it?
Bit of a Debbie Downer, but we're gonna have those. Not all the films that we're gonna look at are gonna be. Not all Marvel films are great. I've got to put that out there.
That's very true. You know, I've actually refrained from watching Morbius simply because of the negative reviews. But I'm gonna have to watch it at some point, obviously. But I think it was a bit of a Debbie Downer last pod, but equally needed, because it's within the chronological order of which we are doing this, people, isn't it? So we are, just to kind of, if you are new, if you've just stepped in right now into this podcast going, who the heck are these two guys talking about random stuff about Marvel? We are literally going through the cinematic universe of the Marvel films in date of release. So we've done Iron Man first, we've done the Incredible Hulk, and today we're going to be talking about Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2. I really enjoyed watching it. There are a couple of things or kind of questions and gripes that I have, but they're not major, mate. Honestly, I think it was a pretty sound sequel. So, so this is what, Iron Man 2 now. So if you had a chance to, if you're listening and, you're following along with us, actually, I do recommend you do. If you're sticking with us for this pod, make sure you get to watch the films before you listen to it, so you can be part of the conversation. But yeah, so Iron Man 2, I think it comes in terms of the way that it feels. Again, we always kind of think contextually about this when we sort of start, is that the whole Avengers initiative setting up for the Avengers film is so very apparent in this film. Which I love, because that's the kind of thing you want to see as well. You start to see the wider world and the wider picture, that it's not just about one protagonist. It's not just about Iron Man. You've got all these other characters now coming in, or kind of actually more characters that are in the first film that have been fleshed out a little bit more. And I'm going to probably reveal something quite surprising to you, Forrest, later as we get to it.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, in terms of your thoughts about a sequel, Do you think it's up? Do you think in terms of all the sequels that you've seen, do you think that's up? Do you think this is up there?
I feel like this basically could be Iron Man 1. Like it feels like and I'll explain myself over the course of the next couple of hours, but I do think that actually there are multiple like similarities between this and the first film, and it's kind of and if you take into consideration the fact that the Incredible Hulk, a lot of what happened in that film, completely got discarded, and it kind of feels like a reset to me. It feels like the point where they went, right, this is working. We know we're going to make a lot of films out of this. We know there's a lot of interest. There's a massive universe. And it was this film, although there were Agent Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D. were mentioned, and it clearly was part of the picture, I feel like this film is right, let's get cracking. Yeah. And look, even the beginning, right? So let's start at the beginning of the film. So we hear the press conference, don't we? From the first film. So we get that end bit where he said, I am Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
So even then, it's like, right, okay, brand new fans, establishing where we're at. He says, it's been a long time since I've stood up in front of you. I quite like that as an opening phrase. Especially as it's like this film. So yeah, we haven't actually done that, Matt.
The date. Yeah, when did this? Yeah, we haven't even done the synopsis. mate, we've just rushed straight into it.
We're skipping.
Steady on.
So the release was the 30th of April, 2010.
30th of April, 2010. What were you doing in 2010, mate?
2010, I would have been in my in April, end of the first year at college, about to embark in my last year at college, A-levels. What about you?
2010. I was 20 by then, so I would have been in my final year in my BA.
Oh yeah,
near or kind of going into it.
Final year of your BA, and I wasn't even out of college.
That is very upsetting for me.
It feels insane, especially as us two feel quite close in age.
Yeah, we do.
About that,
yeah,
it feels like a million miles away. Like you were getting hammered most nights, probably.
Yep.
I was lucky if I could like bring in a WKD into a house party.
Forrest, what's the synopsis of this movie, mate?
With the world now aware that he is Iron Man, billionaire inventor Tony Stark faces pressure from all sides to share his technology with the military. He's reluctant to divulge the secrets of his armored suit, fearing the information will fall into the wrong hands. With Pepper Potts and Rhodey Rhodes by his side, Tony must forge new alliances and confront a powerful new enemy.
That is a stacked synopsis, isn't it?
That is full to the brim. Full to the brim of not a lot of information, though. I got to say,
it's a lot of hype.
Yeah,
big time. But I think if Incredible Hulk had a bit more hype in its synopsis, I'd probably be a little bit more into it. But this really does kind of give you kind of an idea of how much is going to be going on in the film.
Yeah. And that's it. There is so much to unpack about this film because it both gives you a lot, but also like almost restrains itself in a weird way. One of the things I really like about the opening, I don't know, hour of the film, or half an hour to an hour of the film, is that we go back to Moscow, right? So we get the idea of a villain. We see Ivan creating whatever he might be creating, whatever Ivan's doing in the background, and I really like that. I really like the fact that we don't know any of that story, right? We don't have any, right? We're just seeing this guy, but it's all about, and it juxtaposes Stark going on about world peace. And if it wasn't for him, the world would be in absolute turmoil. And I really like that they layer it like that. We don't go straight into a villain. We don't go straight into any fight. It's all harmonious, fake like harmony. We have the big court scene, and we see that actually it's nowhere near as harmonious at all as it seems. But I really like that.
I think you're right. I think it kind of, the way it paces itself, and especially in that opening, where it goes sort of like a flip back into the first Iron Man, with him revealing that he is Iron Man, and then it goes straight to Moscow into this kind of different setting, different place with these new characters. With that, it gives you the immediate circumstance of going, actually, Iron Man is an established character here. We need to throw in some new ones very quickly. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges of this movie, is that you've got so many new characters that are coming in that need establishing. They had to establish the villain immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. So we start with, it's Ivan, who is played by Mickey Rourke. Of all actors, I'm going to throw straight in my gripe. My gripe is Mickey Rourke, I think, being in this role. I don't know. I don't know whether it was the fact that there wasn't enough of the villain in the movie, simply because of how much and how stacked the movie is. But I thought, the whole kind of, again, context to it, the fact that his father worked with Tony's dad, and they together were coming up with this new element, which plays a big role in this second movie. And basically, Tony Stark's dad, what's his
Anton Vanko was his name.
Anton Vanko. So he kind of wanted the money side of everything, and he kind of went through a kind of like a greed kind of perspective, whereas Tony's dad kind of was looking at creating a new element for new energy, for more sustainable energy, and using it kind of a more for the people thing. And there you got two lovely kind of opposed views. You got a nice sort of deep kind of rich backstory there. Again, and this is another thing, mate, I would have loved to have seen that being played out. Seeing Ivan's dad, Anton, being in this, we were talking about in the first one, seeing Obadiah in a Disney Plus, series, and then we could have Tony's dad doing his own mini series with all these kind of, stories that play into the movie.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have had. I absolutely agree. I think it would have been nice to see that play out, or at least for there to have been a reason why they didn't do that. Whether they were planning a series around Stark Industries series would have been quite cool to have a look at the past. And
I understand why they didn't flesh that out, obviously, because it's that's all set up, isn't it? That's all set up for the movie. But it's such an opportunity. Hopefully down the line, maybe we will see it down the line. I really hope we do.
They're most hilarious. So as we record this, the next film on the horizon is Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. Right now, if Obadiah rocked up in an alternative universe,
could you imagine?
Oh my god! I mean, us having to keep shut about that for however many podcasts would just be absolutely brutal.
So excited for that movie. I'm so excited for that movie. It looks so good. Anyway, but so it starts with that. We set it up, and then then it goes straight into the Iron Man Expo, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this is where we get. So when I said about mirroring between Iron Man and Iron Man 2, we get straight away. So he's got dancers behind him. He's showcasing his ego with his speech. He's saying if it wasn't for him, East-Western relations wouldn't be good. There wouldn't be world peace. So it's exactly the kind of like when he's joking to the army in the first film, in the first like literal couple of minutes of the film that we see Tony Stark, and he's showcasing that ego, showcasing that mentality that he has, and he's doing it with a bigger audience now.
Yeah. What I love about this bit in the beginning as well is it's just a badass entrance. That like AC/DC is coming down. I think it's Shoot to Thrill, the song.
Shoot to Thrill. Yeah, I even put it down. So good. Love that.
Yes. It's such a good tune. And then he comes in and it's Stark Expo and he's got his cheerleaders behind him. And I'm like, it sort of dawned on me when I watched it. And I was like, actually, this is the first film of that I know of, that maybe that I have saw, especially back in 2010. That would have been the first movie in where I've seen a superhero being publicly known and their identity being publicly known as well and being celebrated around that as well. So they're like, oh my God, it's Iron Man. Oh, Tony Stark, Iron Man. Like they know who that is. And he's playing up to that and he's celebrating that. And he's riding on the biggest high as well, being like, look at me, I'm Iron Man. Look, I look awesome, right? Of course he looks awesome. I think that's something for me. I was like, that's really quite cool because you don't really get that. You always get the dark, brooding, nobody's supposed to know my identity. With great power comes great responsibility. No one should know who I am. I want to protect my loved ones. Now, Tony Stark's like, yeah, man, I'm Iron Man. And that's the coolest thing ever.
This is where I'm at in life.
Yeah, I think it's a really fresh approach. And I think actually the way, again, that kicks off, it brings the energy into the movie immediately.
It works as well because he spent his whole life like dedicated to creating the science that creates, that creates these, I was going to say costumes. He wouldn't be happy with that, would he? But yeah, creating this armor. So like you're going to show it off, aren't you? You're not going to be like,
and as well, if you're in an Iron Man movie, if you're in an Iron Man suit, you're going to feel cool. How would you feel if you were inside an Iron Man suit?
I'll feel hot, probably. I'll be
just a bit hot, bit sweat, bit clammy.
I mean, can I get edgy? Yeah, just a tissue, please. Yeah, just wipe away. Yeah, lovely. But no, you'd feel absolutely.
I've just got thoughts of you getting in it. That first person kind of view where it's all dark, he's got the screen, he's got a light on his face and all the stuff's around him and Jarvis, and your face might be pressed right up against the camera, and Jarvis just like, are you okay, son? You're like, oh mate, I can't even fit. What's going on in here? What's going on? Is that thought with you?
Oh god. Oh mate,
I gotta get you in an Iron Man suit now.
You haven't seen it. So the and the other thing was that looking back, I think I like it. Is that the expo? You go, oh, he's mentioned world peace a hell of a lot here. We've just been to Moscow. We've seen that that's not the case, and then you almost wonder if it did mirror the first film. And he has that chat with the army, and it all looks pretty like all quite quiet. And then suddenly out of nowhere, it goes mad. And there was a part of me that was like, "Oh, are we about to is shit about to hit the fan right now?
Right now, like immediately."
Yeah.
Maybe that was. I don't. Yeah, that's quite interesting. What I love, especially in this first sequence. Thinking about it again, actually, it is actually quite good. It's this Incredible Hulk. You need to take a leaf out of this fucking film because this is how you do an opening sequence, not a whole origin story in 2 minutes. Anyway, you can see that Robert Downey Jr. has really settled into the character. Massive. in that first scene where he comes in. It's I don't know. I keep talking about it. I think it's one of my favorite entrances for a superhero. Like it's just really cool. And staying into the expo as well. Something to think about as well, if you're thinking in the MCU kind of universe. This is at the point when Mysterio is employed by Stark Industries, and Mysterio at that event is backstage doing his work and getting sick of his job. Kind of thinking in the back of your heads that, if we're kind of putting this in, in canon with what's happening in MCU, that is what's happening with the Mysterio. Also, Larry King's there, aka Stan Lee. Did you see that bit?
Yeah, it was a blink and you miss it moment, mate. It was. Bearing in mind, like they corrected the wrongs of Incredible Hulk and gave him far too much of a cameo, and then it went completely opposite way, and you blink and you miss it moment. There he was.
It was a first person shot, wasn't it, of Tony Stark coming out of the expo, and then he sees all these people, and obviously he's got all his adoring fans and girls giving him his number and all that kind of stuff. And then he literally is such a quick shot. You see Stanley dressed as Larry King, and like Tony Stark goes, "Oh, Larry King," and then that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And
it's great.
The Happy already is in the film more than he was in the whole of the first movie by this point. Like his whole bodyguard shot, where like him like looking after Tony going through the press and all that. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Now they've established that John was reasonably good in the first film, so he's like, oh, I'll give myself a bit more in the second film.
Isn't it amazing just to think that he has played a role that is effectively a bodyguard? Like he is literally such a minor character, but he is probably one of the most long-standing members of the MCU that's currently, as far as we're, a date of this podcast, is still alive in the MCU, right? So I think that's brilliant. He's so good. He's talking about that moment as he kind of exits the expo. He gets then cornered by somebody serving him notice, a subpoena. In American terms, he's got served. He's got to go to court, effectively. I don't know if you saw the Easter egg, mate, but like when the marshal, I think the lady's name was called Marshall, she showed her badge. Did you notice the badge?
I did notice a bit of Captain America.
Yeah, it's the Captain America badge.
But that wasn't the biggest Captain America Easter egg, was it?
No.
They alluded to good old Captain America. I think they're probably more than twice, but definitely twice.
Yeah, there was definite hints of Captain America in there, physical hints with the shield, and obviously that badge as well. So it was just literally the shield of Captain America, but in kind of black and white. And I thought, that's really interesting. What organization has stolen effectively that logo?
But they haven't stolen it, have they? Because if and this is me with my memory and watching, because the whole idea is that Captain America is symbolic of the country, right? So that's just an emblem that they use on the regular anyway. So he's just encapsulated that within his role and his character.
And that sets up obviously a lot with what happens at Civil War, which is something I'm particularly very, very excited to talk about, because that's a flipping brilliant movie. So we go to that bit, and then we kind of skip straight into the court scene, doesn't it?
One hell of a scene.
One hell of a scene. I love it.
Absolutely bonker. Like we introduced to Justin Hammer.
Yep.
Hammer Industries. We see, Stark Industries versus Hammer Industries. Who's going to win? It's always going to be Stark. Let's be. At no point did you ever think Hammer Industries had a chance.
Who plays him? What's the actor's name?
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. He's a really good comedic actor. Sam Rockwell. He's obviously been in a load of early 2000s, late 90s comedy movies. But there's something about his character that I'm like, I feel like we need either a little bit more or a lot less. We don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel it's a difficult one because
he has one very good scene.
He's got to mirror Tony. right? The whole idea, or he hasn't got to, but it feels like there's a mirroring there, isn't there? He's got his ego. Justin thinks that his hammer industry is far superior. He wants it to be superior. He wants to have the latest technology and to weaponize the army. But I feel Tony Stark doesn't have more. Do you know, like, if the shoe was on the other foot, if we'd have been following Justin the whole time, and then in the court scene we had Tony Stark, would we not also be saying the same about him?
Yeah. This is the thing. For me, I feel like this is some bit of the plot that we might maybe not needed. I think if we got rid of the whole hammer industry thing and then literally just focused on Mickey Rourke's character of Ivan and that villain and the fact that really the whole story of him being a villain was like he never really needed hammer tech anyway. He is an intelligent man. He could do all these things. So he just needed the resources, right? So then he could have easily just literally taken him out and taken the resources anyway, or found another way in the story.
But if you look from the Marvel creative team perspective, they had to bring in a lot in this film that they could potentially bring back later down the line.
Yeah.
So I suppose if they just brought in Ivan and he just dies, it becomes Obadiah 2.0. Do you know what I mean? But I think there was. I will back that up. I will support the hammer industries. I'll support Justin and support Sam.
Yeah, and just to think, my thought there that it's not really a gripe. It was just kind of a.
No. Don't backtrack on it now, mate. You laid your gripey seed about. Oh, that sounds. You laid that. A couple of minutes.
Smack the mic in absolute disdain there. But I think sticking to the court scene, mate. The entrance. We have to talk about the entrance of Don Cheadle.
Come on, Rhodey.
Rhodey comes in, and this is I'm going to throw in it right now. My favorite line is in this scene, okay, when he comes in. So it's kind of a back of the head shot. You can see it's all done very deliberately. They're not hiding away the fact that they've just recast this. They're going, yeah, let's just make this a thing for literally a split second and then get on with the movie. Because literally Don Cheadle as Rhodes comes in and Tony Stark's like, oh, I didn't know, because he gets called to the stand, doesn't he? And in surprise, right? So Tony Stark goes, oh, I didn't know you were here. And then it's so good. Rhodes goes, it's me, deal with it. Let's move on. I'm like,
oh, I did. Yes. I didn't even clock that. That is amazing.
It's so good. And I'm like, brilliant. So this court scene is all about kind of the government trying to take ownership of the Iron Man suit. And basically Tony Stark kind of explains it like, look, Iron Man and Tony Stark is one and the same thing. I am Iron Man. Therefore, this is me. You're taking part. You can't take what is me. Therefore, I own this suit and you're not going to get it, basically. And Rhodes is kind of stuck in the middle with this all because he obviously is very high up in the military. He is, he is part of the government and he's part of the plan of getting rights to this suit so it can be weaponized for military gain. And obviously he's a bit torn between that and he's kind of in the middle of it. And that's kind of effectively his arc, isn't it, really, of how he becomes War Machine in this movie, which is still there's some brilliant moments in it. But we kind of move forward, don't we? We move forward back into Tony Stark's pad effectively. And we see him changing his arc reactor and it's kind of burning out. And it's sort of the film effectively, the story reveals that he is dying. He's running out of the charges that he needs to help sort of, keep his arc reactor going. And it's kind of poisoning him as well as he goes through it. I like it. I think that's a nice touch. Again, I think what it does is that it shows the vulnerability of Tony Stark. Now, if we talk about the comics, they kind of play on the fact that he's I think he drinks a lot in the comics, and I think they play on that and they sort of discuss that a bit, and they show that kind of vulnerability. And obviously, there's that moment in the party side, but I think with this in particular, the fact that you go, well, this isn't working. This was an only for now situation, in finding the arc reactor and making sure that kind of helps and keeps the shrapnel out of him. But actually, in doing this, it's poisoning your body, and you're going to be dying at some point.
I really like this whole film has a massive emphasis on the science behind it. And I love that. I like, if you are someone who is at the pinnacle of, science, the research, and, you're really forward thinking and at the forefront of that, then you've always got the issue of you're always going to have to find the next thing. And all. So by having that armor and it's killing him, he's trying to find this element that is going to sort that out. But he's the only one who can discover that. So in killing himself through the newest technology, he's also then going to find the way to live through that. And so I really like the science elements are quite good for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And as well, during that kind of scene, then we see Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts comes in. Okay. And I don't know if it's this scene or not, but she gets basically, told that she's now CEO.
She's worried about the stocks, worried about Stark Industries. She's selling art, wants to sell Tony's art.
Yeah.
Gets announced as CEO. I'm sorry, Matt. I've got to go. I absolutely think Gwyneth did a great job in this film, mate.
And this is the moment where I'm going to say, and I really, Gwyneth, I really hope you're listening, Gwen, because I really do. And I want to say this to the bottom of my heart. I was wrong. I was wrong about you.
So Gwen. Quickly.
Gwen, what I saw in this movie was what I probably wanted to see in the first, but maybe there just wasn't enough running time for you. And I just want you, and that's not your fault. That's not on you, Gwen. Okay. I know you don't make those decisions. That's all K-Dog's, choice. So I just want to apologize to you. And it was a great performance.
Gwen, could I just interject here and say that from the start, I thought you were incredible. I never second guessed, second thought your absolutely insane performance in the first film. And I thought this performance was just absolutely terrific. So, I just want to, mate, it's an absolute sham what you said about it.
Honestly, and I think this is it. When I watched it and I was like, okay, she is actually good. And they gave her much more screen time in this film, and they fleshed out her role so much more. And the relationship between Pepper Potts and Tony Stark is actually quite unconventional in blockbuster films in terms of a romantic story arc. Yeah. They play it really well, and they got to explore that a little bit more. And for that, I apologize for my first comment.
Big scene comes up at this point. We meet Natalie Rushman. We meet Scarlett Johansson. Happy and Tony are boxing it out in a boxing ring. And then, whoa, here comes Scarlett as a secretary. Tony, incredibly excited from the off. Your thoughts?
Do you know, this is the thing. I need to put myself in 2010 and think about 20-year-old Matt watching that for the first time. Now, again, this might be controversial. When she comes onto the screen, you think, well, and this is the thing, I think this is the point of it. You think nothing of the character, right? You think nothing of her. And obviously now watching it back, knowing what kind of character that is, what character that means to the MCU, you go, I get a nostalgic pop now watching that, going, oh my God, that's Natalia. Badass, right? and seeing her play this kind of, I'm from legal secretary, it works. It works really well. I would say that if I was watching that for the first time and not knowing anything about that character, I'd be going, why is this character in it? And I'm not intrigued. I'm just kind of like another new character right now. But when you kind of put it into perspective, and when it's revealed obviously later on in the movie that she's part of Shield and all that kind of stuff, you go, oh, okay, cool, I'm in. All right, I got it. But there is a really cool moment in the first scenes where Happy gives her a lesson in boxing, and she just immediately just flips him and destroys him.
Absolutely.
It's so good.
Because and I think but at 2010 me would have been like, oh my god, Scarlett Johansson, like, yes.
I think that's probably what I don't know whether they played up to that. She is a beautiful woman, right? She's a beautiful woman, and I don't know whether they used that in there. And maybe that's what I didn't like about her entrance, is because it's not her character as Black Widow is not about the fact that she's a really hot woman, and yet she's a badass. But she is a badass.
Yeah,
right?
And that's what I like though, Matt. In this, because I was gearing up for it, and I was thinking, right, I want 2022 mindset on, right? I want to look into this film and go, right, actually, does it pass the checks of not over sexualizing a character that's absolutely doesn't need to be, sexualized. It's not there. And I thought, actually, there are shots and things set, like, I think Tony like looks her up on like his version of Facebook straight away, doesn't he, basically? But it's all done, and it would be great. I think this is where it's be good to get everyone, like, get some emails in, get some thoughts. I think everyone's gonna have a different opinion, but I think actually we established the Happy, like, she absolutely KOs him in the boxing ring. I think they get the combat driven Black Widow in there. I think there definitely is an argument that over the course of the films they remove more, like there are far more sexualized shots like in the earlier films. And this is about all female characters, right? And they've really pad those characters out and move away from that over the course of the films. But I think actually it's not done too badly in this film. I think you're right. I think they play into the fact. Think of it from this perspective. She is an agent, right? She's been given a mission to pretend that she is this Natalie, who is from legal, and she's going to now be the new secretary for Tony Stark. What is Tony Stark like? Attractive women. Right. Okay. So you need to play up to that. All right. And so this is her mission. And if you look at it from that kind of lens, you sort of understand, oh, okay. So she's done all these risky photos because she knew that Tony Stark was going to look her up. Right. And that might have swayed him to employ her. And then he sees her take out Happy. And there's this kind of like, I think it's all done quite deliberately for the story and the narrative. And I think they do it in a good, in a way that isn't just the fact that this is Scarlett Johansson. Monaco. Yes, we head to Monaco, where Justin Hammer, they go to a party. Justin Hammer's all over Tony like a rash, just in front of the cameras. We know that Ivan is on his way to Monaco. We see that little shot of him receiving like his ticket in the rain, in the dark and edgy scene, which I quite liked. And then we also find out at this point that the toxicity of Tony's body is above 50%. Yeah. So he's not in a great way. He's not in great shape. And at this point, I'll put half an hour in and no clear villain fight. When I say clear villain, clearly Ivan was always going to be the villain, but we didn't know anything about him. We don't know anything at this point in the film. We don't know about him.
And that's probably one of my little gripes. Like, as much as we were saying, it sets up the villain really well and from the offset as well. But equally, Ivan is effectively it's a revenge story, right? But on behalf of somebody else, of his father. All right. So Howard Stark and Anton had this relationship and then went it all wrong. But these two aren't avenging each other. It's their sons that are doing it. I think that's interesting, but I don't think it gets played enough. The fact that their sons are fighting over something that happened with their fathers. I think the way that the character is with these, when he appears, he's got these lightning things and these whips, electrical whips. They're really cool. I think they're used very well in the film. But again, I need a reason. I need a reason to this kind of villain, this outfit, this choice.
Yeah, it feels like the Monaco Grand Prix and this whole moment was a big moment in the comics, and I think that because there seems to be a huge emphasis on it. And a big old, like we see Ivan and he's got his things that he's created. And I wonder if it seems quite jarring. And maybe the scene doesn't seem jarring to you, but to me, it just seems a little bit, this comes out of nowhere because I wonder if it stems from the comics and actually the lead up to this Monaco and maybe we see a lot more of Ivan, Anton, whatever we over the course of quite a few comics. And because this has been wedged into, it might be this doesn't stem from the comics at all, but if it does, it feels like they've wedged it in, right? Because we know Tony's love of cars. It makes sense that he would be at Monaco. It's really expensive. It's a height of motorsport. It's the most expensive place to go. Monaco absolutely makes sense for Tony, right?
Yeah.
It just feels a little bit wedged into this film. Like
it's a footnote. It's a footnote, isn't it? In terms of the whole movie, and in terms of that scene is a footnote in the movie. I think you're right, mate. I think I don't know whether it's I'm trying to see if it's in the comics or not. I don't know if it is, but like equally, I think it is the choice of putting it in that circumstance, in that world of sport. Like, fair enough, they're not going to go to the races and go to the Cheltenham Rear horse racing and do it there, right? I get that, obviously. And you can see, I understand maybe from the point of view that it's an expensive thing, and a lot of playboys go there for those kind of things.
But for Ivan, right, straight after that, all of the whole emphasis of the film is the expos, right? It starts with an expo. He literally, Ivan wants to go to the expo. Justin Hammer wants to cause anarchy at the next expo. So why would Ivan prepare everything that he was preparing to go to fucking Monaco? Like, I just don't, like, you would want to go to the home of Iron. You want to cause most destruction to Stark Industries, right?
Well, look at in this respect though as well, it is the sequel, isn't it? And sequels do this a lot, where they take their protagonist out of the home that they are in, which shows the global kind of recognition of Iron Man. So he goes to Monaco. He's flying around all these different parts of the world that people still know him. I don't know whether that was a choice, because obviously the second Spider-Man movie is all set in Europe. It's all about being away from home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Couple of things that I do like in that scene is the absolutely random introduction to Elon Musk in that scene.
Oh,
do you notice that?
Didn't clock Elon Musk. No,
he has a line and everything. I think it's just before the race. Tony and Pepper Potts are going through the crowds of people, and they're sort of talking and they're schmoozing. Justin Hammer's there. He talks to Justin Hammer, insults him a couple of times, and then I think it's either before or after, he then has a line with Elon Musk and talks about doing some sort of collaboration at some point. Elon Musk is in it, but equally, what do you think about the Iron Man suit from the briefcase? I need us to unpack this bit.
Yeah, and this is what I mean, right? This whole Monaco, there was just weird shit happening in this Monaco. Like, it almost feels like their version of going to Monaco is like Alice in Wonderland. Right, Tony Stark enters Monaco, and then the weird, like Ivan killing like random like drivers. Like, why? He's just there. He's just there for Tony. And also, Tony wasn't even going to be driving. So if Tony never drove, what was Ivan was dressed as a marshal for absolutely no reason.
Yep.
It was weird. And then so then the suit in a briefcase, which we never get again. We don't have any answer to the beginning. We never get it again. It's just a device to go, right, how else can he get his Iron Man suit? Right? Oh yeah, that's it. We'll get Happy and Gwyneth in a car.
I love that it's shaped as the suit and everything. So like you're getting Happy to just literally just walk around. Yeah, what's that? What are you holding there? I was just an Iron Man suit. What, in a briefcase? Yeah. What, are you, a transformer? Like. What I do love though is the Mark V suit. I think the blend between silver and red is pretty fucking cool. And I will say that's pretty cool. That's one of my favorite Iron Man suits out there, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, I did like it. Nice introduction to Ivan. I would have just taken it out of the context they gave it. There was a lot of issues there. I think
I don't know if there's any reference to the actual superhero Whiplash, because that's who he's meant to be, right? So he's meant to be the character Whiplash, but I don't again think they use that at all. Should we skip forward? Skip that.
So Ivan's in prison,
but he escapes, doesn't he? Ivan escapes from the prison and finds himself, then goes into a couple of guards, put cover over his head, and then immediately he's in a hangar with Justin Hammer. In a hangar with Justin Hammer, having dinner. And they propose, basically, Justin Hammer's got, look, I got the tools, you've got the brains, I'm doing this, I'm creating a super kind of Iron Man soldier machine type thing. Why don't you help me do that? And effectively, that is what that scene is. It kind of like merges Ivan into the main story, doesn't he? Because up until that point, he was a side plot.
Yeah. And I gripe number 2, if you count Monaco as a gripe. But next gripe is the I don't know if it was Marvel thinking it was a funny like joke, but it actually got a bit overly repetitive, was Ivan's inability to talk in any way to Hammer. Like, as in, you just keep speaking Russian or not speak. I'm like, but the problem is you can only do that if he's also not speaking to Tony. Basically, it's implying that this dude is a bit of an introvert. You know, he doesn't really talk to people because he has no reason not to speak to Hammer. Right? No. There's no he's a bit of a douche, but there's no reason to not speak to him. Right? Speak to him in Russian is one thing, but and then they keep using that, and Hammer's like, I don't speak Russian. I didn't understand what that was because it wasn't funny.
No, they use those kind of things, I feel like, in movies as a kind of a power play, where you're like, I'm the person in higher status than you because I'm talking in English, and you're a Russian and you're of a lower status. And there is that kind of, you can see in the film, the fact that he's kind of reacting to the butler going around him, giving him all the drinks, and he's having all this lovely, 5-course meal maybe. And I feel like they use that, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah. Next piece of symmetry between this film and the first film. Was something I laughed about. So you remember in the first film we go in quite some depth, Matt, about the fact that Tony is making a suit, and most definitely not a Jericho weapon, right?
Yeah.
So in this time, we see Ivan making basically his whips, right? Instead of working on a suit like he should be. Right. And same argument again. Someone like Hammer, right? He had 2 bodyguards watching him, right? The whole time. He would have had bodyguards all of the time watching him at certain points, right? At no point was that whiplash anything to do with the Iron Man suit? So at what point did they go, oh, Christ, yeah, that's one hell of a spine to put in the back there. It's not a spine, mate. He's literally going to be whipping that all about.
That's literally, yeah, that's true. Right. If you had those whips, if you had that suit on, what would be the first thing you whip in half? What would you want to whip in half? Because it does look quite, when you see those videos of like somebody cutting sand, like a block of sand, and you're like, oh, that's really relaxing.
That's why I like those cakes that are like objects.
Yeah.
So like you might have a mug that is a cake and
then you cut it. Yeah. But like if you had that to a larger extent, what would you want to chop in half?
Out of all of the questions I thought you might ask me about this film, that has genuinely stumped me. What would I?
What?
I know. Have you got something?
I think I do.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Mine would be a tank. Because something you feel like is naturally quite impenetrable, and I'd assume that could go through pretty much anything because it went through an F1 car, like sliced bread.
Yeah.
So I'd go like that straight through a tank, and be like, "Yeah, my whips."
I would do like I would put like either like a big barrel full of fuel, so basically something that would set alight. So I'd want to whack it in half, and then there's just a burning inferno left. That would excite me.
That's nice.
That would excite. Maybe. Oh, do you know what? Right? You go to a petrol station.
Yeah.
And I would just use the whiplash. I'd go, above the roof. So you got all the filling up refueling stations, and you got that piece of roof above it, right? Just in case your car gets wet. No one wants a wet car or a wet fuel. And have your little roof, right, on the forecourt. I would just absolutely batter that in half. All of the petrol refueling stations explode. Cars go up in flames. I walk away like an absolute fucking
mate. I like that.
Yeah,
that's good.
And do you know what? I'd do before? Quickly go into the garage shop, get a bag of quavers, and I'd walk away.
Get some quavers. I'd love to see Iron Man eat quavers for some reason now.
Just fucking burning inferno behind me. The
party fight scene. I love it.
It's this DJ Iron Man.
It's Iron Man and War Machine's first fight. So basically, Tony Stark gets drunk. He's had enough. He's dying. He's going, "This is it. My last party. This is what I'm gonna, I'm gonna go out and guns ablaze." But basically, Rhodes, basically Rhodes goes, to Pepper Potts. Look, he doesn't sort himself out. I'm gonna go get a suit and I'm gonna sort him out. Basically, that's what happens. And then there's this fight in the Malibu penthouse. I think it's great. I think it's comedic. It's like watching two brothers drunkenly fight each other in an Iron Man suit. And then it kind of just ends with Iron Man kind of effectively in a heap on the ground, with then War Machine taking the suit to the government, and then they go and weaponize that. And then obviously then comes Justin Hammer to weaponize it.
Rhodes goes rogue is what
but it does, because then it goes straight into then introducing
Fury, mate.
Nick Fury, yeah.
And the donut moment.
Moment.
Probably one of my finest Nick Fury moments. Absolutely nowhere. Tony's hanging in a donut.
It's an iconic moment, I think, in MCU history now.
Yeah.
Such a good scene.
Get out the donut, and Tony says that he doesn't want to join Nick Fury's super secret boy band.
No, and obviously this is when we reveal that Natalia is actually working with S.H.I.E.L.D. and she comes on as Black Widow, and he's kind of like, oh, all right, thanks for that. I think it's great again. And he kind of effectively, through his kind of turmoil, of Iron Man's turmoil, he gets effectively put under house arrest by Shield, and they basically give him a crate, and then Carson turns up, which is wonderful. And what's quite nice is that Carson, I think later on another scene when he's under house arrest, he kind of asks him what he's been up to. He says, I've been busy. And the whole I've been busy line is the fact that I've been busy looking for Thor's hammer, which is pretty cool because that's what happens later on.
I feel, next gripe, Nick Fury's scenes in this, it all seems super quick, like too quick. So like that moment's not fleshed out enough for me. It's a big reveal, big like full introduction to Shield. Really, like we've seen Nick, we've seen Agent Coulson, but now they've met. Now they're together. Natalie's in the forefront of it as well. Yeah, that's underplayed. Also, right, we finally get, and I'm skipping forward a little bit here. We get a scene between Nick Fury and Tony, right, where there is a shed load of information regarding Anton and Ivan. That is released by Nick, right? The whole film centers around Ivan, right, as the villain. Yet that scene with Nick Fury and Tony, where this is the first Tony learns of that, learns of it, like the Anton's involvement in Stark Industry, all of that, right? Yet it is over as soon as it turns up. Right.
I think you're right. It's a gripe. Do you know what I'm sort of realizing? We've got more gripes than I thought we would in this movie. But I'll get when we get to this thing. I think I've got a thought at the end. But at this point as well, you know, the story shifts, doesn't it? It becomes that the wider world become a part of the main story. So Nick Fury, Black Widow is part of it. Pepper Potts becomes part of it. Justin Hammer and Ivan, the sides are being created, and War Machine's in the middle of all of this as well, being used by the government, and you know, then effectively the suit being weaponized and being used against him as well. There's one bit I just want to hark back to the kind of the donut scene very briefly, just because of a line that is said by Nick Fury, where he basically, like a dad, tells him off, goes, "Look, I don't have time for you. I don't have time for your kind of BS, mate. I gave you an option. You need to sort yourself out," all that kind of stuff. And he says, "I have other things important." I think there's a line like that where he has, "I have other things more important than you." And you kind of think about like Captain Marvel, all the things that happened in that movie. That's all happened before this moment. And you go, "Oh my God, yeah, he's..."
So, and more on that, right? I heard, he says bigger problems in the southwest region.
Oh, it's because it's where they find Thor's hammer is in the southwest region.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I love that little nugget, mate.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. And again, Tony Stark has no idea at this point of what's going on outside, you know, not even his country, but the planet and beyond the planet and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. What happens is just after that film, we're kind of fasting ourselves forward, but like by this point, War Machine's been weaponized by Justin Hammer's equipment. Ivan Vanko from his secret bunker is weaponizing all of Justin Hammer's tech to be used against him. They all go to the expo. The idea is to show Tony Stark and the world that Justin Hammer is the leading tech industry. And they go to the expo, and then Justin Hammer's there being all kind of Steve Jobs, you know, introduces the Marines, the Navy, and they all come up with these different machines, the kind of like weaponized machines, looking kind of similar to like, it looks like a mixture between the Star Wars drones and Iron Man suits. If they were to have had a baby, that's what they would have become.
And I suppose it's quite important to add at this point, Ivan's gone against Hammer's kind of instructions. So the whole idea was that these were supposed to be suits that were worn by the military. However, Ivan said, no, you want drones. You want drones that can be run from somewhere else, which is exactly what Ivan ends up doing. This big fight scene starts by Ivan working away in his little corner somewhere else, and absolutely it causes anarchy.
This is when the big fight sort of kicks off, the kind of final battle effectively. So War Machine gets weaponized by Ivan, and War Machine and all these drones go after Iron Man as he comes. Iron Man comes in and goes, "Look, you're in danger." Ivan's, behind all this, and he's working with Justin. And then the fight breaks out, and everybody's in panic. And obviously, your thing about being worried about the people. There is a lot of people at this expo.
We saw a little kid with the Iron Man hat on, and he puts his hand out in front of it must be in front of a drone, I think, at this point. In front of a drone, and then Tony comes in and saves the day for this little kid. So Rhodes in the first film, like I said earlier, the army are attacking Iron Man, because at that point they don't realize that Tony is in that armor, so he doesn't realize he's in the suit. And then in this film, you've got Rhodes is in War Machine attacking Tony because Ivan has control of the suit. I quite like that. Like both films, Rhodes is trying to kill Tony, like inadvertently. I quite like it. I quite like it.
So then obviously it gets to a point where they all kind of we see the use of Shield, the reason why Shield are actually really good at what they do, and Natalia through all this bit is trying to fight off all the guards in Hammer Tech Industry to kind of intercept what's happening. So basically she manages to take down the system, effectively kind of software system, and kind of and brings it back to normal. So basically Ivan is out of the picture for the moment, but then we go into this kind of main fight, don't we? Because then obviously they fight off the drones themselves in this kind of like Japanese garden, don't they? It's really lovely. I think it's quite a nice little location actually for the fight. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ivan turns up in this makeshift whiplash suit.
Yeah, Ivan turns up, and quite like Monaco, but as quick as he arrives is pretty much as quick as he's gone. And he has a little bit at the end, but then pretty much he gets KO'd quite quickly by a wonderful little hand action. And that's an interesting. I don't know what do they don't have a name for that, do they? Really, the hand.
Yeah, that bit,
the hand move, is used quite a lot in this film.
It is.
We kind of establish Iron Man has this.
They want to sell toys, mate. That's why. That's why they had that whole thing with the kid.
True. Yeah,
selling toys, selling the merch.
Hasbro must have been loving life.
Big time. I think from obviously, so Ivan gets destroyed, and then effectively the movie kind of finishes at that point, really, pretty much. But like other bits happen with Mr. Tony Stark, don't they? In terms of setting up for the Avengers. But
so we do get Pepper Potts kiss. So he saves Pepper Potts from a self-destructing drone. And then they're on the rooftop. They have a little bit. They do the typical like, "Oh, I don't like. Well, you shouldn't be CEO. Oh, you've caused panic."
Yeah,
kiss. They're not quite sure about that moment. And then that is kind of
it. I think this film, in conclusion, before we talk about the end credits, for me is it is a watchable, good, solid sequel of a superhero movie. It's not up there for me in terms of its top ones ever, but like it is good. Certainly better than some other sequel MCU movies. But I think the problem with this movie is that because it's all set up, I'd say 70% of the movie is set up. It's stacked. So I mean, we've been talking for nearly 2 hours now. When that, out of all the ones we've spoken about so far, that is a reason, because there is so much going on in this movie. You don't really have time to digest the context, what's going on. It's paced as well as it could be, but I think to the detriment of the setup, it's okay. It's good. Yeah, it's good. I'll watch it again. Of course I will, but I won't be thinking about it for weeks on end after it. Do you know what I mean?
Got a question for you, Matt.
Hmm.
Would this film be better if Ivan wasn't part of the picture? There was no true villain. Didn't need a villain. You could have had a mini fight with Rhodes. If we completely got rid of Ivan, would this be a better film?
Do you know what's really funny? I for some reason I didn't say it, but on my notes here, I've gone villain is weak. Is it needed? I agree with that. I do think the film would be better off if it was just set up.
Post-credit scene.
Oof, it's very short. It's very quick. But it's exciting.
And a lot of it is just a clip of a car. I've got to say.
In a dusty desert.
Dusty desert. So we see car, desert, it's driving away. And then as it stops, we see close up of the number plate. Land of Enchantment written in the small letters at the bottom of the number plate.
Very cool, isn't it? I like that moment. It does say as a subtitle, isn't it? I think of says in the Southwest region as well. Ooh. So it does confirm that what Nick Fury was saying is in fact about Thor's hammer. And obviously then it kind of pans to the reveal of Thor's hammer amongst this massive crater. And it sets it up, and then boom, we hear it ends on an echo of lightning, doesn't it? It's so good.
Incredible. And I am absolutely thrilled that Thor is next. I can't wait. I'm so excited for Thor.
I am excited, but I do remember having some serious gripes with this movie when I watched it first. So I was like, oh no. So I'm interested. I'm going to go in with curiosity, Forrest. I'm going to go in with professionalism, because we take this podcast seriously, we take it seriously. I'm going to go in with a fresh start, my friend, and see if those gripes aren't gripes anymore, because they might not be. So if you are listening along with us, do make sure you watch Thor yourself before you listen to the next podcast, so you can come and help and put in your thoughts as well. We really want to use this as an opportunity to have a discussion with people as we go forward. And obviously, so basically, it's probably quite apparent from this point is that we are doing blocks of episodes. So we will read your emails out when it gets to our next block, and see what your comments are. But this is I'm still feeling that kind of excitement. It's buzz. I feel like I've settled into the pod a little bit. It's all good. Well, this has been yet again an absolute joy.
Drop us an
email.
Much
love to you all. Much love.
Be a hero podcast at gmail.com.